Consistency isn't just a trendy concept that sparks a brief surge of effort. It's the steady rhythm that gradually shapes who you become, one decision at a time. If you've ever observed someone follow a routine so seamlessly that it appears effortless, chances are they've turned consistency into an ingrained habit, an ongoing commitment rather than a sporadic strategy. Rather than waiting for the ideal mood to strike, they trust in the strength of a steady approach, understanding that what's done regularly far outweighs what's done only in moments of inspiration. Motivation can rise and fall, leaving room for distractions and doubt, but when consistency is embedded in your daily life, it moves beyond fleeting emotions. You make the act of showing up a given, whether it's honing a skill, prioritizing your health, or working toward a meaningful goal. With time, these small repeated efforts accumulate into tangible progress. Each morning or evening, you remind yourself that the journey is worth tending to, not just when conditions are perfect, but when they're simply good enough for you to take the next step. This steady, day-by-day process replaces erratic bursts of work with a calm, deliberate rhythm. Imagine laying bricks each day to build a strong foundation. That's the essence of consistent effort. Even on an off day, placing just a single brick keeps the structure growing, ensuring that momentum never truly stalls. The beauty of consistency lies in how each small success strengthens your belief in yourself, serving as a reminder that goals don't need to be rushed. They can take shape step by step as long as you keep moving forward. When setbacks arise, bouncing back becomes easier because you're not starting from scratch. You've already built a foundation, a rhythm that reassures you of what's possible. Structure enhances consistency, transforming it from a vague intention into a dependable routine. That routine becomes an anchor shielding you from hesitation and distraction. As it evolves into second nature, you find yourself relying less on sudden bursts of willpower and more on the steady force of momentum, the natural pull that comes from having taken similar steps time and time again. Over time, the steadiness becomes the foundation for real transformation, gradually guiding you closer to the person you aspire to be. One day, one effort, one consistent choice at a time. Yet, consistency can often feel elusive, especially when enthusiasm spikes for a few days before fading into old habits and sporadic effort. Many wonder why staying on track feels so difficult when a goal once seems so exciting. The struggle often stems from attempting massive leaps or depending solely on motivation, only to see those plans unravel when life inevitably gets busy. The key to making consistency last isn't about grand resolutions. It's about embedding small, daily actions that become second nature. There's a distinct difference between craving immediate, dramatic change and developing a steady rhythm that endures, no matter the circumstances. Momentum starts the moment you choose to value incremental progress over occasional sprints. A routine, even a simple one, holds more power than fleeting bursts of effort. A strong anchor keeps you from drifting when motivation fades, and its power comes from simplicity. The clearer, more manageable your daily structure, the easier it is to maintain over time. If your routine becomes too complex, it risks turning into a burdensome task you dread rather than a sustainable habit you can uphold. An effective daily approach thrives on small wins. You might dedicate just 15 minutes to improving a skill or commit to a brief but focused workout. These actions may seem insignificant on their own, yet when repeated consistently, they compound in powerful ways. Not just by enhancing your abilities or fitness, but by reinforcing the belief that you are someone who follows through. That self-perception can shape reality, making reliability part of your identity rather than relying on sporadic bursts of motivation. Timing also plays a key role in making consistency easier. If you schedule a task when energy is low or distractions are high, it's more likely to be skipped or rushed. By paying attention to your natural rhythms, you can align tasks with the right time of day. Perhaps early mornings for mental clarity, late afternoons for physical activities, or another slot that best suits your lifestyle. This small adjustment minimizes daily friction, making it easier to stick to your routine without forcing it. Habits serve as anchors of stability, but they don't form automatically. They require a deliberate setup. If you're trying to practice a musical instrument daily, placing it somewhere visible and linking practice to an existing habit, like right after breakfast or as soon as you get home, can make a big difference. This approach, sometimes called habit stacking, uses a reliable action as a cue, reducing the mental effort of deciding when to practice. Over time, the sequence becomes second nature, making it feel unusual not to follow through. Focusing on the process rather than the outcome also strengthens consistency. Many measure success only by reaching major milestones, overlooking the small daily steps that lead there. Yet true progress is built by embracing the journey, not just the destination. You ease some of the pressure by reminding yourself that as long as you take today's step, you're still progressing in the right direction. This mindset makes setbacks easier to handle since your self-worth isn't solely tied to external milestones. If you stay true to your daily plan, then you've succeeded in maintaining consistency. Challenges will always arise. Unexpected events, dips in motivation, or even moments of doubt about whether your chosen path is worthwhile. One of the biggest advantages of daily consistency is that it becomes a reliable ally when the road feels difficult. You don't need to wake up each day brimming with enthusiasm. Instead, you rely on a routine already in motion. That routine acts as a safety net, catching you when motivation wavers because it minimizes the need for constant decision-making. Rather than asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? You remind yourself, this is simply what I do. A day-by-day approach also leaves room for steady improvement. When you engage with something consistently, you accumulate a valuable record of small lessons, refining your methods faster than if you approach it sporadically. Continuous practice helps you spot mistakes early, recognize patterns, and adjust before wasted effort builds up. Take writing, for example. If you write a little each day for a month, you'll have 30 pieces to review, test, and refine, rather than a single large session that's harder to analyze. This immediate feedback loop fuels steady progress, an often overlooked advantage of consistency over short bursts of intense effort. As you settle into a stable rhythm, you also build confidence in your ability to adapt and stay committed. That confidence can spill over into other areas of your life. Once you prove to yourself that you can maintain regular exercise or daily reading, you start to realize that the same disciplined approach can apply to learning a new skill, improving your finances, or tackling any other long-term goal. The core principle remains the same. Define a manageable routine, commit to it, and let the cumulative effect take shape. Some worry that a methodical approach might stifle spontaneity or drain joy from the process. In reality, a structured routine often allows you to enjoy unplanned moments even more because essential tasks aren't left in limbo. When you know you've dedicated time to your priorities, you can embrace unexpected opportunities without guilt, confident that your progress won't be thrown off track. This balance, planned action paired with open space, creates a sustainable rhythm, one where you neither burn out nor deprive yourself of life's pleasures. Consistency flourishes when supported by thoughtful planning, setting small daily targets, recognizing your natural energy cycles, and focusing on process over immediate results. When you take this approach, you shift from sporadic bursts of effort to a steady, intentional journey. Each day becomes a step in a purposeful dance, linking your present actions to a more capable, self-assured future. With every repetition, you reinforce the truth that consistency isn't about perfection, it's about the daily promise you keep to yourself, inching closer to your goals with each deliberate choice. Long-term consistency also depends on a clear understanding of why each task matters. Many routines fall apart because they're built around superficial or hastily chosen goals that lose their appeal once the novelty wears off. When deeper motivations remain unclear, it becomes easier to skip a session or set aside a commitment, especially when the payoff isn't immediately obvious. But when each small step connects to a meaningful purpose, whether it's improving your well-being, mastering a craft, or contributing to others, your mind starts to see routine not as a burden, but as an investment in what truly matters. Honesty with yourself is key. If you claim you're too busy, but still manage to spend hours on distractions, it might be a sign that you haven't yet fully aligned your time with your priorities. If you find yourself struggling to stick with a routine, it doesn't mean you're lazy or unmotivated. It may simply mean you haven't yet connected with the reason compelling enough to sustain daily effort. Clarity of purpose is key. Reflecting on what truly inspires you can reveal whether you're pursuing a goal that aligns with your core values or merely chasing something that feels lukewarm at best. Once you discover a genuine reason, consistency feels less like a forced duty and more like honoring a personal commitment rather than fulfilling an expectation set by someone else. A useful habit is to ask yourself regularly, what does success look like at the end of today? Not in terms of huge milestones, but in terms of meaningful progress over the next few hours. The mind can easily get overwhelmed by distant, ambitious goals, but defining small, tangible wins makes consistency feel more achievable. If you're learning a language, success might be reviewing vocabulary for just 10 minutes. If you're honing an artistic skill, it might be completing a single focused sketch. Over time, these small daily efforts accumulate into significant progress, all because you continually fed your growth with steady, intentional practice. Minimizing distractions also strengthens consistency. If your goal is to write every evening, but your space is filled with temptations, open tabs, notifications, or clutter, sticking to the habit becomes an uphill battle. Managing your environment by clearing distractions or setting up a dedicated space removes small obstacles that could derail your focus. The fewer mental negotiations you have to make, the easier it becomes to slip into your routine. Your self-talk also plays a crucial role in shaping your commitment. If you constantly tell yourself, I always quit, or I never finish what I start, you reinforce the idea that inconsistency is inevitable. Instead, consciously shifting your inner dialogue to, I am someone who values daily growth may feel unfamiliar at first, but the words you repeat influence the actions you take. This isn't about ignoring struggles. It's about choosing a mindset that encourages follow-through. Bit by bit, each positive affirmation nudges you toward acting like the person you aspire to be. While consistency thrives on stable habits, it's also important to allow for some flexibility. Life is unpredictable. Travel, unexpected commitments, or personal events will inevitably disrupt your routine. A rigid plan that falls apart at the first obstacle isn't sustainable. Instead, having contingency plans in place can help. If you can't complete your full routine, doing a shorter, modified version keeps momentum alive. This approach ensures that you don't abandon your habit entirely, but rather adapt it to fit the day's circumstances. This kind of flexibility prevents the all-or-nothing mindset where missing one day becomes an excuse to quit altogether. Progress tracking can also reinforce consistency. Simply marking each completed session on a calendar or in a journal provides a small but satisfying sense of accomplishment. Over time, these records reveal patterns. Maybe you're consistent during the week but tend to skip on weekends, or you notice certain dips at specific times of the month. Recognizing these trends allows for small adjustments to keep progress steady. Beyond that, seeing a streak of successful days builds psychological momentum. You start to think, I've come this far, why stop now? This subtle but effective motivator helps you show up again and again. However, consistency isn't about mindless repetition. You're allowed and even encouraged to refine your routine as you learn what works best or as your goals evolve. The key is maintaining a steady rhythm of progress rather than making random, unstructured changes. This balance between stability and adaptability fosters both growth and long-term commitment. Instead of rigidly clinging to a routine or being too relaxed in your approach, you create a sustainable structure, one that allows for progress without burnout. Over time, this synergy encourages both persistence and flexibility, striking a balance that purely rigid or purely casual strategies often fail to achieve. It's important to remember that consistency doesn't eliminate hard work, it simply channels it more effectively. You're still putting in effort, but in steady, manageable chunks, reducing the risk of burnout. This is why many who adopt the daily formula describe it as freeing rather than restrictive. Instead of swinging between extremes, intense bursts of effort followed by long periods of stagnation, they create a natural rhythm of action and rest, trusting that small, consistent gains will accumulate over time. And that trust is key. Trusting the process, trusting the compounding power of small actions, and trusting yourself enough to believe you can show up consistently. Comparisons often arise when you see others consistently hitting milestones while you struggle to maintain momentum. It's easy to assume they have some innate drive or discipline that you lack, but in most cases, their success isn't due to extraordinary willpower. It's the result of aligning their daily actions with a clear, meaningful direction. This sense of alignment bridges the gap between everyday routines and long-term ambitions. Whenever doubts creep in, why bother doing this today? The answer is already embedded in their personal roadmap, keeping them focused on a deeply valued goal. Resisting distractions is another essential part of consistency. While modern temptations are everywhere, distractions have always existed. Whether in the form of idle conversations, daydreaming, or procrastination, each generation faces its own diversions, whether it's an endless stream of entertainment, social events, or hobbies that start to overshadow primary goals. Consistency doesn't mean rejecting enjoyment. It means recognizing when to prioritize the task at hand rather than letting the day slip away unnoticed. Mastering this skill isn't about self-denial, but about making intentional choices. Those who refine this ability find that over time it becomes second nature to guide themselves back on track, ensuring that their most important commitments receive to crumple when unexpected shifts occur. But a flexible daily approach allows you to adjust without losing momentum. When circumstances change, a new job, a relocation, or a shift in responsibilities, you can modify your routine rather than abandon it altogether. Instead of clinging to a strict, outdated plan, you find ways to adapt, ensuring that progress continues in some form. This adaptability is what keeps consistency sustainable over the long run. An often overlooked benefit of consistency is how it naturally cultivates patience. When you operate with a day-by-day mindset, you begin to accept that meaningful results rarely appear overnight. Each small action is like casting a daily vote for the future you want. This shift in thinking helps counteract the restless urge to constantly measure progress or feel discouraged if immediate results aren't visible. Patience, developed through steady practice, allows you to persist even when progress feels slow or unseen, trusting that these efforts are accumulating beneath the surface. Celebrating incremental milestones can prevent your routine from becoming monotonous. If you're learning a new language, acknowledging how many words you've mastered each week can reignite your enthusiasm. If you're writing daily, reaching a certain number of pages might be a reason to reward yourself with a walk outside, a chat with a friend, or a favorite hobby. These small celebrations aren't just indulgences. They act as psychological markers that reinforce your habit. They remind you that real progress is happening, providing the emotional fuel needed to keep showing up each day. The people you surround yourself with also influence your ability to stay consistent. Engaging with those who share similar aspirations or respect the power of steady effort can create a supportive atmosphere of mutual encouragement. When a friend or colleague checks in on your progress, or when you exchange insights with someone on the same journey, accountability becomes second nature. Conversely, spending too much time around those who dismiss your routines or tempt you into distractions can subtly weaken your resolve. Being mindful of social influences doesn't mean cutting off anyone who doesn't share your exact goals. It means ensuring that at least some of the voices around you reinforce your commitment to steady practice rather than sporadic effort. This balance of personal dedication and external support strengthens your ability to remain consistent, regardless of life's inevitable fluctuations. Identity, seeing yourself as someone who follows through, even when circumstances shift. If you internalize the belief that you are a person who prioritizes daily effort, it becomes easier to adapt rather than abandon your habits when life throws challenges your way. Instead of defining yourself by rigid external markers of success, you anchor your identity in the process itself. A powerful way to reinforce this identity is through self-reflection. Periodically reviewing your progress, whether weekly, monthly, or quarterly, helps you stay aware of your patterns. Are you consistently meeting your daily goals? Do certain areas feel stagnant or in need of adjustment? This reflective practice ensures that consistency remains dynamic rather than a mechanical, repetitive action. It allows you to refine your approach, ensuring that your daily effort stays aligned with your broader ambitions. Just as important as reflection is the mindset you adopt around setbacks. Missing a day or falling short on a particular effort isn't a failure. It's simply a moment to recalibrate and resume. The strength of a day-by-day approach lies in its ability to absorb occasional missteps without derailing the entire process. If you frame consistency as an ongoing cycle rather than an unbroken streak, a skipped session becomes a minor detour, not an excuse to quit. External accountability can also reinforce consistency. While intrinsic motivation is crucial, knowing that someone else is aware of your commitment, whether a mentor, a friend, or a group pursuing similar goals, adds an extra layer of responsibility. Regular check-ins or progress updates can keep you engaged, providing a mix of encouragement and gentle pressure to stay the course, especially on days when personal motivation wanes. Ultimately, consistency is not about rigid adherence to a single routine, nor is it about perfection. It's about developing a sustainable rhythm of effort, adapting as needed, and trusting that small, steady actions accumulate into meaningful progress. When approached with flexibility, self-awareness, and the right support, consistency ceases to feel like a struggle. It becomes a natural part of who you are. Each time, these micro-challenges add variety and a sense of progression, preventing your routine from feeling stagnant. They transform the process into an evolving journey rather than a monotonous task, keeping your engagement high and your mind actively invested. Another subtle but powerful tool for sustaining consistency is habit stacking, linking your daily practice to an existing routine. If you always make coffee in the morning, you could attach 5 minutes of journaling or language review to that habit. If you wind down in the evening with a certain ritual, incorporating a brief reading session can feel seamless. By anchoring your new habit to an established one, you remove the mental friction of deciding when to do it, making the action feel like a natural extension of your day. Ultimately, consistency is about designing a system that fits your life, not forcing yourself into an unrealistic mold. The key is balance. Having enough structure to stay committed, but enough flexibility to adapt. When you respect your own rhythms, allow for imperfect execution, and use small mental cues to reinforce your efforts, consistency stops feeling like a struggle. Instead, it becomes a steady force guiding you toward mastery, progress, and personal fulfillment. Cultivating a kinder inner dialogue does not mean making excuses. It means recognizing that setbacks are a natural part of any long-term effort. Instead of dwelling on a missed day or a lack of immediate progress, you can approach it with curiosity. What got in the way? How can I adjust? This reflective mindset allows you to refine your approach rather than abandon it. Ironically, being gentle with yourself often fuels greater consistency because it removes the emotional weight of failure. Instead of seeing a single lapse as proof that you're incapable, you see it as a minor detour, one that can be corrected simply by showing up again tomorrow. Even in moments of doubt, when you question whether your daily efforts are making a difference, consistency itself can be an anchor. Growth isn't always visible in the short term, but just like a plant's roots expanding beneath the soil, your repeated actions build an unseen foundation. Then, one day, progress becomes undeniable, a breakthrough moment that feels sudden, but is actually the sum of all your quiet, persistent efforts. This structured approach helps reduce decision fatigue, allowing you to channel your energy into the actual work rather than debating whether to begin. When your daily practice becomes an automatic part of your routine, it no longer feels like a struggle, it becomes a given, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee. This mental clarity also creates a sense of stability, especially in unpredictable times. While external circumstances may shift, having a consistent practice gives you a touch point of control, something to anchor yourself to regardless of what's happening around you. The predictability of your daily effort provides a sense of progress even when life feels chaotic. Ultimately, consistency isn't about rigid perfection, but about cultivating a rhythm that supports long-term growth by approaching each day with a balanced mix of commitment, flexibility, and self-compassion. You create a system that not only sustains your progress, but also makes the journey itself more rewarding. Over time, the small, steady efforts compound into something far greater than any single burst of motivation could achieve. Doesn't lead to long-term stagnation. True mastery isn't about reaching a single milestone and stopping. It's about maintaining momentum, continuously refining your craft, and staying engaged in the process. This mindset prevents the common trap of achievement becoming an endpoint rather than a stepping stone. When consistency is ingrained, success becomes a checkpoint rather than a finish line. You learn to appreciate progress without letting it lull you into complacency, ensuring that your growth remains ongoing and sustainable. Ultimately, a day-by-day formula fosters a deep trust in yourself. The knowledge that no matter what happens externally, you have the internal discipline to keep showing up. This trust becomes its own form of strength, one that carries you through both challenges and triumphs, alicore rigid discipline, but in practice, it is a dynamic force, one that adapts, evolves, and strengthens over time. True consistency isn't about perfection. It's about resilience. It's the ability to continue forward despite obstacles, to return to your path even after deviations, and to embrace progress as a continuous journey rather than a singular destination. The people who master consistency often stand apart not because of extraordinary talent or luck, but because they commit to showing up again and again. Over weeks, months, and years, their steady efforts compound into something remarkable. And in the end, the real reward isn't just external success, but the transformation that happens within. The shift from hoping for progress to knowing deep down that it is inevitable, because you've built it one day at a time. And disrupt your routine. Unexpected obligations, shifting priorities, or personal challenges may momentarily throw you off track, but the beauty of consistency lies in its adaptability. Rather than seeing these disruptions as failures, they can be viewed as natural fluctuations, moments to pause, adjust, and then resume with renewed clarity. Over time, consistency fosters self-trust. You begin to rely on your ability to return to your commitments, even after setbacks. This trust forms the foundation for long-term success. Not because you never falter, but because you always find your way back. And in that return lies the real power of a day-by-day approach, the quiet, unshakable belief that no matter what, you will continue moving forward, or as natural stepping stones on your journey. This shift in perception fosters resilience, making it easier to persist even when results are slow or obstacles arise. You no longer rely solely on bursts of motivation. Instead, your identity as someone who shows up daily carries you forward. Ultimately, consistency isn't just about productivity, it's about transformation. It's about building habits that align with your aspirations, developing self-trust, and creating a rhythm that supports sustainable growth. Over time, the small daily steps accumulate into something greater than the sum of their parts, leading to progress that feels both natural and inevitable. By embracing the process, trusting the incremental gains, and allowing your efforts to compound, you not only move closer to your goals, you redefine yourself in the process, becomes a form of self-assurance. You know that no matter the circumstances, you can still show up in some capacity. It's not about perfection or always performing at peak levels. It's about maintaining a rhythm that keeps you engaged with your journey.